You turn the lights on too.
Fine.
Oh yes.
Live. We love this live. And we just had a great opening. I hope y'all had a great opening. Oh yes. Was it good? Yeah, we good to go. All peace and love. And love and peace. It was a good week for everyone.
Yes, indeed. Yep. We know a lot of activity been going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether we know this, what we need to be certain of was a good activity or wrongful activity. So we got to be conscious of this.
That's it, yeah. That's it. And to be more conscious is meaning to know. So we got to know bad from right, true from wrong, but we ain't made it yet. And if we all was a baby, unless you came here a full adult, I don't know everybody's story, but I came as a baby. So as a baby, is one thing you know, if you can go back to the stages when you were a baby, you got to become conscious. That's just the truth of it. That's just the truth of it. So we came to become conscious. So every day we are waking to become more and more conscious. And as long as we more conscious today than we was yesterday, we're doing a good job honoring life. And we got to go into this word conscious because this is the word that strictly relates to your higher self. So before we begin, we give all praises and honors to all the prophets and to the divine creator. In the opening of the divine name of the creator, Al-Sufian. It's a time that we got to use our own language. He done had fun with us, with his language, with his meaning. Now we take things back.
Yes, indeed.
We separating the right from the wrong.
Yes, indeed.
And so we have our own words to define our own. But we also the language that we was given and taught, as they called it, English. Yeah, but just a little backdrop. It's not our main topic, but our subtopic, English, because we need to at least understand what we're speaking. English is a language that we are speaking. So they call English a Proto-Indo-European language when you look it up. So we going.
You say proto?
Mm-hmm.
That's about like the word protocol. So when you're sitting up, when you set up a system, it's about like a protocol. So I guess that was going to be the protocol with proto. Huh?
Mm-hmm. So let's just go to your public knowledge of what English is. Easily accessible. English is European. This is what we're talking about. They part of the Indo-European language, whose speakers, called Anglophones, originated in early medieval England on the island of Great Britain.
Look at it.
Originated.
Starting point.
So that's the public knowledge of English. So it links you back to Great Britain. And see, let's see if they go back a little ancient. Just it says the next line says the namesake of the language is the Angles, one of the ancient Germanic peoples that migrated to Britain. So now when we go to Great Britain, this is when you need a little history, but we ain't gonna go deep into the history. We just want to make some connecting links. Great Britain is an island in North Atlantic Ocean of the northwest coast of continental Europe, consisting of countries England, Scotland, and Wales. So that's what ultimately they're saying.
Yeah.
The root of English comes from. England, Scotland, and Wales.
Look at that. Oh, we going to school today, aren't we?
How Great Britain got its start is the not so public knowledge. So we gotta deliver some of the private knowledge, and this is where we caption all of the ancient European language in its root.
Come on with it.
And that's Moorish. So all this goes back to Moorish. Europe, Moorish. We got to keep that in mind.
You were ancient. Were that signifying those people that you're talking about that they didn't clearly say?
Right, they ain't gonna classify it, but you got
Together, right.
as you become more and more conscious.
Right.
But that's the hidden knowledge they've been hiding, is the Moorish history of Europe. That's what's covered up by the 1492. So if we just put just a little deliberation, just a little subtopic.
Yeah.
If we find out when was the Battle of Granada.
Man.
This gives you a little history predating right prior to Christopher Columbus. The Granada War was a series of military campaigns between 1482 and 1492 during the reign of the Catholic monarchs. This is where you get your Spanish. So when you find out who was the Grenadians, that's who you find out. It goes back to Moorish.
Good lesson, good history there.
So when we want to understand, so now we have to understand everything that we understand in the European fashion comes with a Moorish meaning. And the main word we want to investigate today is this word that affects our soul, and we're going to get into mostly refer to this word, at least the spelling of this word.
Right.
See, and this is what we mean by Moorish. See, all of this that we finna read, where conscious come from, all these was. So when we go into, it's an adjective. It says 1600. Remember, that's after 1492.
Yeah.
So that means they got this word 1600.
Yeah.
They seen it somewhere and recopied it and made their own version.
Yeah.
So this is the version made conscious.
Mm.
See, and they made this system right here, the knowing. This is why we're going with knowledge. The knowing, privy to. From Latin, knowing, aware. Considere, be aware. So that's what we have to work with when we're talking about conscious.
Yeah.
And now they have created a whole system of English that we are conscious of. Now the real source comes from the original form of this word. Let's get that on the screen. And we see that in yellow. That's the original usage of that word. This source dates prior before 1300. So if this word existed before, they grafted it into their language in 1300 as an existing word in the 7th century. Now, when we see this word, we're going to read number 14 to get a context. It says, a man who has no conscience abandons.
Ooh, that's troublesome.
It's very troublesome.
That's troublesome, y'all. Please.
And we got to get to know what is this form of conscience right here. And then we're going to soul.
Good teaching.
As we see, that form is not this form, so we're going to see if that form exists. And it now,
let's see what that's it.
Right.
Yeah, let's see here. Look good here. Expressions could be something, can't it?
That's
mean.
Each word means. So when we hear the word conscious, originally we mean in this word. But when now it takes us to another meaning. And this is what is called English. It changes the meaning of what was original. So now they date this a millennium before. No, a century before. They 1300, this 1200. So 12 come before 13. So this definition goes by the faculty of knowing what is right.
What is right?
Squeeze that back into our contextual sentence. A man who has no conscience abandons his soul. If we don't know what is right, this is how we abandon our own soul.
My.
It said knowing what is right.
Yeah.
So if you serve a divine creator, a divine indicates knowing what is right. Not speculating, not creating error, but actually learning to know, to become conscious of what is right at all times. And if we don't know what's right at all times, we can abandon our soul. Now we got to get into the word soul. To get us a meaning.
Well, while you're looking for that, I like to say this to that what you just put on the screen. Abandoning his soul. So if we all that speak in English and not our own language, that would be a sign of just what we had done. So we stand guilty as charged. But I'm hoping that not knowing and then knowing, then you got a chance to say yourself.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that. Our word for this word is tuba. That's our language. How we would say conscious. Tuba. That's what the word means. And that means repentance. Turning away from what is wrong and turning back to what is right. So our ancestors left for us our system. See, and now that we have aware that there's in Moorish science. See, now, do I have it on the screen? Now we're aware of Moorish science. And in Moorish science, there's a study where it's called two cells. So this is why we have to understand the background of English, that it's rooted in what is called Moorish science. And in Moorish science, there's what it cells. The higher self and the lower self. So the form of English we have, it makes us conscious of our lower self. That's the word that we looked up with the altered spelling. This conscious, conscious, has to do with your flesh existence. So this has everything with doing in your life, not with who you are. You're aware today, Friday. You're aware you need to do or go. This is what this language has catered and been designed for, to conquer the lower self. But if you don't know of the teachings of the higher self, then you're going to get swallowed by the lower self. So they taught us one half of the coin. So now we, as the Holy Prophet said, return to your forefathers, foremothers' ancient state of mind. So we talking about an ancient state of mind, then we talking about language and understanding. As we have on 13, the state of mind and action necessary to discern right from wrong. This is what conscious is for us. The state of mind and action necessary to discern right from wrong. Again, that word is tuba. Now, this has relation to your soul. So in the English, you don't hear much of the soul. Everything is distracted from the soul into the flesh. So there's not a comprehensive understanding of what the soul is. So in English, you have science and religion not together. So in English, things are divided and parted, and they're not in unity. So we have to be very distinguished when we are using the language of English. So now we want to get to, so we don't abandon our soul, we need to know what the soul is. Number 28, the soul is no different to ancient psyche of the Greeks, to ego of the Romans, and self. This is very key. So when you hear the word soul, soul is a direct line to yourself. This doesn't affect no one else but self. The same word self is the same word ego. So in English, these things are separated. Ego is not related to your soul. In English, it's related to your flesh in English. So this is conscious.
Yeah.
And I'm talking CONSCIENCE. Conscious with the word science in it. See, this was always our science, was the science of your conscious. Relating to your soul. So now when you hear something that says, know thyself, it's saying, know your soul. Know. See, we hear more in religious text, soul. You don't hear the word ego in religious text. Outside of religious text, you don't hear the word soul. This in English, you hear the word ego. Oh, he got an ego. See, the words, what we saying, don't match the understanding of what it truly means. Everybody got an ego that if you're born, you got a self. Ego means the self. And more importantly, the self means the soul. So if someone got an ego, that means they got a soul. And if they got a soul, that's a good thing. But see how we've been trained to be at war like sports, divided. So the same word ego means psyche. So psyche has nothing to do with your flesh. We all know that through understanding of what psyche is. But that word comes from the ancient Greeks. So they use a different base of words to describe the same thing, but made us appear that it was different. So now we never been ourselves because we never been our ego. In Western understanding the ego is a bad thing. Now, we call the self the rule. Or the re. Do, re, mi, fa. Different language pronunciated differently. This is how we pronunciate it. So now when we talking about, only time you hear this word is when you study ancient Egypt. So when you hear the word ha-ru, this is where you get the word from. The ancient Egyptians was custodians of your ancient wisdom in phonetics, not in spelling, in phonetics. This is very important because your ancient language was phonetic. It was oral based. And it wasn't until later when we started putting it into scripts. So the self goes back to your soul. The soul goes back to your true self. And your true self is classified in our language as your immortal soul. We got the word immortal here. This is what we have to deal with. Now, the teachings you was taught, was they based in immortality? Because this is what all the ancient Egyptians lived for. They whole society or they city was based upon the soul reaching immortality, eternity. This was their number one goal for their children, for themselves. And so this is a whole different teachings that deal with the science of the self. So if we didn't get a teaching on the science of the self, then we didn't get a teaching on immortality. And if you was born to attain immortality, and you never learned of your immortality to be your immortality, then the meaning was lost. And this is what has happened to life in English. Yep. We have lost the meaning of self to self and the purpose of self.
That's what has happened.
It has become a fleshly based value system. Possessions, ownership, what I have, when that was never the ancient way.
And it's amazing how they set our mind and condition that it's all we want is material world. And we destroy ourselves trying to get it. You think about that often. Work yourself to death. In so many fields, long hours. Even the education system is long hours, many years, and then when you're going for the degree, there could be another 8 or 12 years. So pretty much your whole self is wrapped up in the material world. They sold all of most of everybody that concept. That's what they call success, join the rich club. Everybody sit around and brag about how much money they got. Who the rich? No one helping the poor out of this.
And that's part of the large meaning we have gathered from understanding English, that it's about materialism. It's not about immortality. So rarely do you have conversation with people on immortality, but you have higher ratio of conversations with people about materiality. In our ancient understanding, that would be considered mortal. Our concern was never mortal concerns. Our concern was always immortality. Every act we did, it made us increase in what is called consciousness. This is how you become immortal, because you know what is right. So if people are still failing in life, that's not called becoming conscious. Becoming conscious means to never make an error. To reach your state of glory is to reach your state of perfection. Mm-hmm. This is what all you are supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be working. But see, we have to work on self, not on a job. Mm-hmm. Your job down here since you've been born is to work on self.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
This meaning has been altered. Mm-hmm. Now self is recognized in English as a doer. Mm-hmm. Well, in our ancient forefathers and foremothers' mind, they ancient state of mind, self was not a doer. As we see, the self was the being. Mm-hmm. So who you are is your being. Not your name, not where you work, not your address, not what you own. Beautiful. None of that is your being. Beautiful. What you gonna drink, eat, and wear tomorrow. That is not your being. And this is what we got pulled away from. So if we got pulled away from self, that means we could never be ourselves. Now there's a big difference between doing and the being. This is what we want to hone in on. Let's zoom in. The things that you do is not who you are. Right on. If what you're doing is not helping you remember who you are, you're not doing. We have in English, this is how we become unconscious. The opposite of conscious, CONSCIENCE, is unconscious. CONSCIOUS. And put the UN in front of it. Unconscious. So we have become completely unaware of who we are in the process of living through the language system of English. It never reflects back to your soul. You never get in depth of who you are and you don't never look at the world from your own being. Now, this is what English have done largely, and this is what it's done to anybody who starts speaking it.
Right on. Mm-hmm. See the devastating disaster. That's worse than hell. The Hurricane Helen. What they got better.
This stuff is this the world's greatest crime.
That's right. That's 1,000,000 times worse than Hurricane Helen. Or what they done to us and what you just said. So, I don't even know.
This is the greatest transgression, the greatest sin, the greatest
yes, indeed.
crime.
Tragedy.
Because if we see now, without this teaching, what do you automatically by default become? Someone's slave.
That's right.
This is just logical. So they have a whole system that's based on what they call slavery. That needs a language.
Goodness gracious.
And how you understand that language is called mental. So they created a mental slavery by creating a language that you understand mentally that will enslave you mentally by taking you away from yourself and bringing you into time. That's why job is based on time. See, most people, and especially children, they wish to have their parents' time. But they grow up to learn something else, have their parents' time. The parents never become conscious of it, but the children are learning to become conscious. So they are learning from the examples of what they see. A child completely learns through imitation. A child has no awareness, has no understanding of what consciousness is. It learns through meditation, not meditation, it learns through imitation. It imitates its environment. And whatever the environment is doing, the child takes this upon as its being. See, it just is the being. So this is why you have to understand, how do you come to be yourself? In order to be yourself, you're going to have to know yourself. Who you are is not what you're doing. As you see, you are the being. The being associates with the conscious. This is all in link. A man or a woman who has no conscience abandons their soul. So in order to have a soul, you must be conscious. To prove you are conscious is knowing what is right. See, it's not about doing what is right. This is what English, it used these two small letters, D and O, and flipped you with the two letters, B and E. See, you put ing at the end of B, you got being. You put the ing at the back of do, you got doing. This is how they changed the whole, what they call reverse psychology. Psyche, dealing with your soul, they reversed it from immortality to now all you do is focus on things that die. When you don't die, you are the immortal being. So we now from our ancestors' state of mind, connecting everything and why they didn't want us with our ancestors' state of mind. Being what is right. That's again, being what is right. See, this is what most people suffer from. Being what is right. Once we be what is right, this is knowing what is right. See, your being is every way in control of this whole, what you call your existence. Your being connects with your existence. You couldn't know anything if you didn't have a being or self. If you didn't have a self here that's existing, you couldn't know anything. So the whole goal of life is to know self, to get a specific knowledge that will be generally available everywhere for everyone. You don't have to go to a particular Ivy League school. You don't have to go to a certain college, certain university to be yourself. See, none of this has to do with your being. This has to do with what you're doing. See, what you're doing is not what you're becoming. Becoming comes with consciousness. Are you becoming more conscious?
Time waste.
This is what it means when they say increase in knowledge. Seek knowledge. Knowledge is going to make you conscious. So when we're talking about conscious, this is your true being. This is where your immortality lies. This is your psyche. This is your ego. This is the way that you deal with everything.
Beautiful.
You don't deal from the external. You deal from the being. We can't erase this once we come into existence. This is why at the end of existence, or let's say, did we know that the end of life is called death? When you want to end your own existence, this is called becoming unconscious. Remember, your existence don't lie in the flesh. Your existence lies in your conscious.
Right on.
You'll see what. This is why our ancestors prided themselves in dying this way.
That's right.
And number 10, this is what you study when you study the ancient Egyptians. This is the whole teachings that they learned. This is what made the ancient Egyptians what they were, because this is what we brought to them. And they became it. Now, number 10 say, better to die of bitterness. See, this is very important right here. Oh, okay.
I'm just, what you're saying, got my hand up in there. That's a spirit that.
This is what our ancestors focused on, was their conscience. This is what they call their righteousness. With their conscience, they did not want to hold grudges. They didn't want to engage in war. They didn't want any misery. Listen carefully. They didn't want any misery in their conscience.
Beautiful.
This is opposite today. Remember with this other alternate spelling, the spelling, what it did was when you reverse your psychology, instead of you being awake in life, being yourself, you went to sleep. And so most people is asleep, doing everything.
Then you can see it. You can see it clear as day.
Yes, in their conscious, the SCIOUS is misery.
Yes, sure is.
All they're aware of is misery,
Yes,
but they don't know what it's actually doing to the self.
That's right.
The self is a conscious. Let's rebrand. We call, when you know this, it's called wisdom. Check this out now. This is called wisdom when you know. This is what is called wise. It's when you understand what consciousness is. Consciousness is your immortal true self. And this self can do it all. Your being can do it all. But if you notice, you can't do it all at the same time. See, this is the discernment that we have to discern in life, because we can get ourselves in one particular event that we don't want to be in, but we don't understand how this is all coming forth because we're not conscious. So when you're conscious, you're able to discern. And when you're able to discern, you're able to know what is right. And what is right deals with what is immortal. To put yourself in something that is based upon mortal and time is to put yourself in prison.
That's correct.
That's why time go with prison or jail time. See, in English, you have to be very, very conscious because it's a slippery rope. And if you don't have ancient root languages, systems, you can get lost at sea. And they call it the sea of conscience because they altered the spelling, now putting the self to sleep. Self looking for a job, Job. Self looking for money, self looking for everything that self will leave behind. Self looking for. It's how clever English is. Because remember, it say the devil speak with a forked tongue. That's two selves. So English, this is why you have in totality 26 characters in English. Half of it for right, half of it for wrong. 13 plus 13 is 26. Half and half. So you got to know what you're doing when you speaking in English, because you can get yourself in a world of trouble. So when we're talking about conscious, this is what conscious does. It knows all illusions because you yourself is the only thing that is real. Why you think everything is fighting for you? If it was easy, they would do it. What is hard to do is to be yourself. Mhm.
When you said that, I couldn't think of nothing but about that Civil War. It was fighting for you. Just to back up how important and
Yeah.
precious you are. You didn't even know, but they knew how precious you are. It was fighting over you. I get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Being unconscious, this is what's called the most dangerous state. This is what is called the most dangerous state. Is to have knowledge without no being. We have to understand what knowledge is. If we all came as a baby, meaning we was without knowledge, then knowledge is something you become conscious of. And we see children without consciousness or without character, the children become a dangerous being. Your stuff become vulnerable. The child life become vulnerable. You have a harder time and more trouble with them.
Yes, yes.
This is called lacking a conscience. So if we looking at this from a 0 point baby status all the way to up your current age, this is how conscious you're supposed to be. You're supposed to have a better grip on what is right from wrong, what is good from bad, what is true from falsity. And if you haven't or cannot, that means you are going more into increasing into unconsciousness. When it comes to conscious, you either increase or decrease.
That's right.
When you decrease from consciousness, you increase into unconsciousness. The world's most dangerous state. This is what people you see most wanted lives.
Yeah. So that explains why that you see so much turmoil in the USA. Everywhere you go, no matter which direction, ain't nothing but danger. Everybody's life is at stake. All the madmen up there, leading the country. And there ain't no way you can go and pretty much find peace over here in the USA. I get it.
Mm-hmm. See, so the only way knowledge works is by self. Knowledge without a self just exists. If you don't mix knowledge with your being the knowledge will never exist. Like for me, myself, coming to understanding of what meat is, I had to become conscious. When you become conscious, that means you be it. Not that you know about it and then your being ignores it. This is what English does to you. You know a lot of stuff, but you don't never be what you know. And this is what we'll find is the hardest thing to do down here once you get engulfed with this language.
Yes,
your being, it's like it's hard to touch your being and bring your being out. You care about others more than you care about your own existence. This is what the language has done. We care about the stolen European nations having a great time here than our own existence. We living in poverty. They children on our resources, living it up. While we stop being, this is what happened. When you stop being, he started doing. See, when you asleep, he can do anything. See, you're not awake until you start being. This is why the holy prophets say, what did I come to teach you? How to be yourself. Not how to be no Moorish American. How to be yourself. And yourself was defining. Yourself was defining what a Moorish American is. And now look at the message of that. So the great divine creator got to clean us up and give us something that we can't tear up now. Because he done tore up the best of the best. We got to give you something so conscious that you can't tear up. So there's a place where people go that become ultra unconscious. It's called the abyss. Now this is deep. Number 8 says this is about unconsciousness. We call it the abyss. Our ancestors called it the abyss. Number 8, the abyss is part of existence. And where the wardens are ourselves. Conscious.
The water. Look at this.
Is your own conscience.
God and your Christ.
How did the abyss become part of your existence? Number 7, the place formed by you having a life of ignorance, hate, deception, and disbelief. These are called unconscious. The conscious don't possess none of this.
That's correct.
So if you deny your own being for the sake of others' being, if you respect others first before you respect yourself first, this is how you create unconsciousness. In our saying, the abyss, we called it a wawala in our language. In the Jahannam, if you heard it, this is what they call without beginning and without end, if you heard of this saying before. See, conscious has a beginning. It's the beginning. Unconscious has no beginning because it's not conscious. What's a live scenario? When you in a dream, can you remember the beginning? When you wake up, you remember the beginning when you woke up. Why you don't remember the beginning of your dream? But you remember when you wake up the beginning of that, because that's true conscious. And this is what we have to understand. So this is the high science of understanding of the two selves. One is conscious, one is unconscious. They both the first of its kind. One is the first, the beginning. The other one is the first, the beginningless. So to help us understand this, this is why our ancestors built a whole psychology system called Al-Sufian. The name, the first name, pronounced as Allah, this is the beginning. Oh, this is the beginning of conscious. See, if you can't start off in the beginning,
Yeah, that's right.
you ain't looking to become more conscious. By the time you get up out of here, you want to be so conscious that your body comes light.
Beautiful.
This is why your body should glow. Because we're talking about you dealing with a conscious. This is greater than the sun you see. It's veiled by a flesh that is unconscious. The flesh is part of the unconscious. That's why you can go to the abyss or go to the grave and stay in your flesh. Or you can come out of your flesh. That's called heaven. See, if you don't know how to bring your being out in this world, you're going to stay in your body at death in the abyss. But this is basic in our ancestors' state of mind. This is how they was able to build pyramids perfectly to geometrical standards, untestable, and they can't understand. It's because they can't understand conscious. You could become so conscious that you know all things. You got to work at it, just like you got to work at a job. But this is called work on being. You got to work on your being. When I work, I don't work on anything else but my being. Everything I'm doing is for my being. When you're reading a book, you're not reading to do the book. You're reading so your being can become conscious. And if everybody become conscious right now, the war over. It's over already. You got everything back. You don't have anything. To have is an illusion. It's your conscious that you need to get so you can have everything back. Everything you want is called in yourself or in your conscious. And this is why we have to understand. See, it's not about nobody else. When you come to K.O.S., this is about you caring about yourself. This is about you and your being. Right. What I'm saying, no being will want to tell you this if they want power over you.
That's correct. That's correct. Power over evil.
This is about nothing hidden. If you can become conscious of it, you can be it. It was things didn't have no conscious of, that I had to become conscious of. And then I had to accumulate more conscious to elevate to higher levels of being. I can do some things through my being that other people can't do. It's because of an accumulated of conscious. You can become so conscious that you can do things that others can't do. And they'll wonder how you doing it. See, and this is why I say gift. No one knows what a Sufian is. And this was who we were. This was the way of being conscious. When we moved this way, we knew it wasn't a such thing as death. The death you speaking on is unconsciousness, not knowing. As a Sufian, you can never die because it means something. And if you work like I work to achieve, then this is the gift of why, if you worked your butt off, you should want to call yourself a Sufian. If you serious about your own being, where you end up in life, not about someone else's deeds, and if their works is done and they ain't doing what they need to be doing for themselves. You got to worry about you, and you got to focus on yourself, because you got to live and die for your own self. And you got to have a clean conscience. So that means you got to know something. So 31 says, you can never die as a Sufian. This was our word of one who has attained the way, the light of what we call Allah. Past ultra conscious. You know what ultra conscious is. We did a study on it. Allah is greater than the ultra conscious.
That's right.
We're talking about the collection of all things, words, ideals, form. Ain't nothing greater than Allah. Allah is the beginning of you becoming conscious of your own self. That's why they give you these fake gods, because none of these gods teach you knowledge of self. Allah teaches you knowledge of self because Allah created you. So he wants you to have the knowledge he got. He got knowledge of himself. And he created you, so he wants you to have knowledge of yourself. And they hid that in something called Islam. You didn't know that Allah made Islam for one purpose only. You've been persuaded through English that it's an outside faith. Islam means a devotion to self-consciousness, self-knowledge. Being what you know, being your conscience. No other document in plain writing supports you becoming more conscious. Even if I bring Jesus in your story to show you that you are a subordinate. You pray to Jesus. And only people who can pray to Jesus is so-called Christians. Meaning that Jesus is above Christians. Hear me out now what I'm saying. Your conscience is not equal to Jesus. Your conscience is beneath Jesus. In the teachings you follow, you pray to Jesus. Meaning he's greater than you. And then when you look at Jesus, was it anyone greater than Jesus? So if Jesus prayed to someone greater than him, and you praying to Jesus, do you see the consciousness? You can't discern. That's not equal. Let me show you something right here. Not only is Islam self-knowledge, let me show you what Allah only accepts. The golden rule for Allah is that all are equal. Ain't Allah don't look at you as beneath him. Oh, this is very critical right here. There's only one way that Allah works. He don't have favors. All are equal. See, so when we talking about Allah, we talking about something else. Let's read number 7. I don't read enough. It was somebody else.
Thirst, the soul is Allah, and all souls are Allah.
Now, if we all are equal under the law, what law is this talking about? It said the law of Allah. What
law?
And so, is it talking about flesh? Are we all equally? Is it talking about flesh? This says completely, literally, the soul. The soul is the self. All souls. So now when we talking about equal, see, everybody got the same soul. When we talking about Allah, ain't nothing that I can do that you can't do. Ain't nothing you can do that I can't do. This changed the whole paradigm. See, it's something to become a soul, because to become a soul goes with number 6. To never die. See, Allah never died. This is why it's important for you to understand you are equal. But every day you are making your choice. And this is what separates the souls from the flesh. The flesh, every day they choose to live in ignorance, unconscious. Me, I don't choose that. I choose to know I'm conscious. Whatever is already is. When I say I'm conscious, I don't mean I create the sun, I create the stars, I create what comes. Just like I came into this world, I let the world be. I let the world come to me, just as the world, I came to the world. The Creator has something in line for all of us. You don't have to make every day the best day of your life. It's already the best day of your life. You don't learn how to get out the way. When you wake up, you get out the way. When I wake up, I get in the way. This is the only difference. It's a choice to choose. Do you choose to live in the consciousness of what you know? Or do you choose to ignore what you are conscious of and you choose to increase in unconsciousness? So love is easy for me. It's consciousness. It's not hard to say love in words to people. It's not hard to be helpful with people. It's not hard to put up with inconveniences of others. But is it the same way in balance? If you go to help somebody in ignorance, will they come and help themselves with wisdom? See, with wisdom, you don't need nobody help. With ignorance, you do. You didn't need nobody to come in this world. Allah alone. But somehow we become unconscious to our own existence. And this is what the white man loves. He loves for you to sound like you own a bended knee. Like you don't have your own existence while you watch him wallow in his. He doing evil, and you stop being righteous just to join his evil. Evil can't stand righteousness. If everybody were righteous in this world, evil wouldn't spread. Evil spread like money spread.
That's right.
Everybody got some.
Plenty.
But when it comes to truth, you don't know what that is. You don't even think about the truth. The truth is something you should know. And what you know, you can think. Do you ever think about the truth? You can't become conscious and have the truth and then be unconscious. Once you wake up with K.O.S. knowledge of yourself, it's no going back to sleep ever. And once you get started on it, it's gonna rub you until you finish. People get no joy and pleasure out of themselves. Islam was created for joy and pleasure.
Right.
Consciousness was never made to be a burden. Don't it stop all burdens? Hey.
It sure does. And may I say something on that? You have to go. I found more joy, and this is a fact, and experience. I found more joy and happiness in love, in truth, in doing right, and in obedience than I have doing evil and disobedience. And I'm quite sure that those who heard what I just said experience it right now. Right now.
I'm telling you, that's all I like to shoot out.
Me too.
Is love.
Me too.
Ain't nothing else worth anything.
And I thought about something you said every day you get up, you're seeking for self, you're seeking for more joy in that. Most folks is headed to the job site. Ain't nothing there but a check waiting on you after you done the work. Has nothing to do with your soul.
Nothing to do with it.
But it will work your meat down to the bone. And has nothing to do with sin. I get it.
And if you choose ignorance, then that's what you choose, to deny joy and pleasure. This is the most beautiful thing we can have, is to experience your own consciousness.
That's right.
It's how big. Knowledge itself is part of the greater reward. This is what you gain by going on a journey.
Look at that.
Of knowing who you are. The other reward is attaining the knowledge.
So goodness, seeking ye shall find. That's that gold and that treasure. A treasure of knowledge.
These the two.
Heart of wisdom. Seeking knowledge. So
the reward is in the knowledge. You being the knowledge is the reward. We keep looking for something else.
Yeah.
It ain't nothing going. Money ain't gonna solve nobody's problems. It ain't gonna make you a better being. You gotta be to be a better being. It ain't got nothing to do with how much money in your account, how much money in your pockets, what you can get today, what you can buy for somebody. That ain't got nothing to do. If you can give anyone love and truth, you're doing a great service down here.
That's right.
You ain't got to pay for that. Love and
right.
truth.
That's so true. So true.
This is why our ancestors said, don't never do something you don't love. I didn't know that. You do things that you don't love. You don't ever do something you don't love. Do you know what that do to your psyche? This is why you become conscious. No, I don't do that. You got your joy to protect. Who gonna make sure you happy 24/7? We talking about all your life. Who gonna be there 24/7? This is why we gotta become conscious. That's what true awakeness is. You awake in life to understand what life is. Life is conscious. But you don't see conscious when you wake up. See, this is the point. That's why we read in the previous lesson, everything you see with your human eyes come from conscious. So this is something you be. You can't buy this. You can be this now. But you can't buy this. You can only buy a lie. Let's just put it as simple as it can get. You can only buy a lie. You can't buy the truth. Truth is a conscious.
That's right.
You have to embody the truth. Truth is an embodiment. If you don't embody the truth, then you can't never be the truth. Swag, all that is knowing the truth. Confidence is all that is knowing the truth. Self-esteem, that's all that is knowing the truth. When you get to the pinnacle of wisdom, which is top, what we say A1, A1 consciousness. There's a lot of one. It's based on, as it said, the principle. This ain't got nothing to do with the flesh. It got to do with the principle. The flesh came from a principle. One principle above all others. Respect your conscience first. Now we got to clear and depth what self is. When it says respect yourself, respect your conscience first. Respect your being first. Don't watch anything more than you watch yourself.
That's right. That's so true. That's so true.
Don't help no one more than they help themselves. We talking self-respect. You got respect for your own being. See, in the worst case scenario, we talking about a pimp and a hoe. A hoe has no respect for herself. So the pimp got respect for himself.
Yeah.
So he can use the hoe because she don't respect herself. She don't respect her being.
Look at this.
She don't know she can get her own.
Look at this.
She got to be told what to do. She got to be told to bring it back.
Man.
She got to be told what to do. She unconscious.
Train like a dog.
Oh, this is the same effect with your government. It's a pimp and a hoe situation.
It is.
When you understand consciousness, it'll stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you keep going after what the dangling.
Mm-hmm.
The pimp ain't never giving you knowledge of yourself so you can be the pimp of your own self.
Yeah.
See, and now we don't understand how the being is becoming damaged because you think the self is a myth. They made in English self a myth. Everything else exists but self. You can't even love consciousness until you respect your own being.
All I could think about. Now they done switched the word. Now they call it dignity. They call that kind of like respect yourself, you know. And they use the word dignity. That you're supposed to have a certain thing about you that you don't let nobody take away from you. And now, this society have pretty much took money, and now they'll use the women's body to, and you see more exposure now. That's a sign of less dignity when you're seeing this here. And now they take it for beauty. I'm just showing you how this society have, just how they done exploited the women and the men. And it's just like the pimp and the whore, just like you said. And the pimp's on Capitol Hill, and the whore's off the hill. And they make all the rules. The pimp make all the rules for the whore to abide by. I get it.
That's exactly what we have. And they try to put it the driest way we can get it.
Try to get it clear.
You get it clear so you can live happily ever after.
And they've been having a good time here in America.
They've been having a good time.
With no morals and no dignity.
Mm-hmm.
Heaven knows anything but.
Mm-hmm. And that's, and in this case, the whole is money. And I'll look, because today, I mean, let's just say if I had a lot of money, I can get people to do exactly what I wanted them to do.
Sure can. Right now.
And it'll be good.
Right now.
Since I don't have no money, I can't get people to be themselves. I can't get them to love truth. Because it ain't got nothing to do with money. I can make people wash my car, wash my tires. I'm talking about get down low. I mean, even get to my toenails for some dollars. But if I tell you that I got something for you to read, you to become more conscious, they ain't got time for it. So that's what the pimp do. He understand, the white man understand black people ain't got time. They said if you wanted to hide it, put it in the book. So it means you got to spend your time reading the book. And you ain't got time. So that means you become an unconscious whole. Ready to serve whoever conscious. So now when we talking about this is your own being, you getting down and doing the dirty. When the conscious is to be clean. Money is making souls dirty down here. They won't do nothing for people without money. They won't have a consistency with things that deal with loving others based upon truth, not based upon favorites. Not because you my son, you my daughter, you my mother, you my father, I love you. but because you have great manners, because you are conscious, you are living a life of full being. Who cares when people got money and they wouldn't even share with you? When I don't got money, but what I got, I'll share with you.
Me too.
And it's called consciousness. This is what's better than money. I had both, so at least I can say, I can discern what is better.
That's right. Me too.
And I don't have money because I got consciousness now. I don't need much money. Why? You need a lot of money when you unconscious. This is the slippery slope that we slip from. So we think money gonna do the work for us at the end of the day. You think money gonna help you be great. You think money is gonna help you buy what you need to buy. You think money is the answer. This is the English atmosphere of the Western Hemisphere. Money solves all problems. Never looking at conscience. Never looking at the soul. Never talking about the soul. Always talking about what you're going to do today. Not what you're going to be. Be. It's things you can be today. When we see Allah as a soul, Allah is not we see nothing else. We need to get to the soul. And to get to your soul, you got to keep a conscience. If you abandon your soul, you abandon Allah.
I want to do that.
If flesh is an illusion, then what is the true self? Because that's called the lower self. If your lower self is the illusion, then what is your true self? So when you hear phrases like consciousness or a phrase like breath made flesh, it's the same thing. Consciousness, which is yourself, is what made your flesh. There's not no hard rocket science. It's actually simpler than rocket science and greater than rocket science. Only with rocket science you can build a rocket. With consciousness, you never die. You all knowing.
That's what you want.
You got 144 places to go. And you ain't got to move your feet.
How sweet that is.
Go is an illusion. If your flesh is illusion and your feet is attached to your flesh, anywhere your feet go, flesh go. And both of these are illusions. So why we keep using our hand trying to get something that's mortal? You are immortal. Let's reverse that direction. You immortal. You should be going after things immortal. Increasing your consciousness in immortality. you're gonna separate from this plane, and you don't know when.
Don't know when.
It's on consciousness. Consciousness know when. They'll tell you right now. But do consciousness want the unconscious to know? No. These are two different forms, just like you see day and night. We surely know night ain't day.
That's for sure.
So we got to know there's a true self and there's a false self. And we call the false self the flesh. And the true flesh, yourself. I think that's how we need to say it. The true flesh is yourself, your own being. This is what I call physical. When you hear me say physical immortality, I'm talking about your soul is flesh. It couldn't make flesh if it wasn't flesh.
That's right.
It's a higher form of this flesh that you need to become as your final image. Your flesh ain't your final image. It's an illusion. Death is going to reveal your final image. This is not something we came into. This is something we was born as. This is why you experience everything from pain to not pain to sadness to not sadness. Your whole being feels this.
How you do? One to another.
So how you deal with all that determines how conscious you are. So this is what's called the tree of life. This is the highest wisdom. This is where you want to be eating from. This is that soul food right here.
Soul food, soul food.
Not the tree of death. We're talking about life. When you wake up and all that life that you just know nothing of, you ain't became conscious enough to know how life works. Life ain't evil. Your understanding haven't became conscious yet. People are not evil. This is why I'm saying y'all just are weak beings. If your being is weak, of course you're gonna look like people evil.
That's where the evil comes in. Right there.
But if you got a strong being, ain't nothing that you don't want manifesting to you.
That's right.
This is why you have courage and you have coward. The coward has no courage because you have to be courage. I had a gun pulled to my face, so I had to learn what courage was. I thought I knew what courage was until I had to experience. Now I really know what courage is because I'm still here. Not because of cowardness, but because of courage. And it makes you more conscious. So now the consciousness is the aura. Not what I'm wearing, what I'm driving, who that is, who she is, who that with you.
Yeah. Who you with?
See, these are the things the human eyes see. We eating from the tree of life. You can't see that. That's the fruit of immortality. You got to become conscious to see immortality. This is that substance of your please.
I just thought about something when you said that. You said that tree, if you look at the King James version of the Bible, when it was speaking about the tree in paradise, I'm trying to think, did it mention anything about eternity, immortality? It was just the tree of knowledge of good and bad.
Mm-hmm. They didn't want to tell us a lie
Because,
about that tree of life in Genesis.
Yeah.
It said, he who eats from this tree will have immortal life. Because it's a real deal. Our ancestors are immortal. They left the doctrine to prove it. Go get a doctrine of immortality from the white man. Mm-hmm. I bet you can't. Okay. You got to beat his stuff. Okay. He is the costume of destruction.
That's right.
So when we're talking about he don't represent life, that's what our ancestors represent. Life. We face death. He's scared of death. That's why he attacks all life. Sure does. She is a walking virus. Anybody who think that everybody is not equal, you have a virus. That's right. It's just that simple. Yeah. This is why all begins with all are. You keep thinking it's not including everybody. This is including all. Mm-hmm. If it ain't all, then it's called a favorite. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what Jews think. They the favorite. Mm-hmm. Here go a important part as we get ready to wind on down. In the flesh of man, number 36, there is the essence of the resurrection of the dead. This essence, quickened by the holy breath, will raise the substance of the body to a higher tone. Mm. This is what's called consciousness. Consciousness will raise your semen. The substance is the semen. This is just how you was born through semen. Yeah. Your birth body, your spiritual body has to do with semen. Your semen will stay in the body if you don't have consciousness. This goes for women too. Women are semen. Ain't nothing, everybody's equal here. This is why you are equal. Don't matter the labels and the terms. You are semen. Semen, you see, it can form things. Walking, talking things, building things. How about that? So when we're talking about immortality now.
Goodness gracious. Bigger than semen.
This is what you was produced for, so you can become a final version of yourself. It's like graduating. You graduate in high school to become a better being. So when you graduate deaf, you're supposed to be, if you did the work, not listen to others. You did the work. Faith without works is dead. So consciousness without works, if you ain't got no works on your consciousness, you ain't did nothing. You supposed to be a know-it-all by the time you leave here.
Thank you. Not ain't foolish.
Right. Wise and fool don't go together. This is how you determine a great life. Did you become a fool? Well, you was people's goal. Other people used you and abused you.
Won't be none of that. I guarantee you that.
It's what we call Fool's Day or Fool's Gold.
April Fool's Day. They even have that.
Right. And you take the L off fool and put a D, that's what you become. Everybody down here, if you don't have consciousness, you are food or eating some food. That's energy consumption. I can pass a task to you because of the energy consumption. Through energy consumption, I can save myself by saving myself a lot of time. This is what's called employee. So I can go do something else. I employ someone to do something that I don't want to do. That's why you never see the boss at your job. He don't want to be there. So he needs someone unconscious of what he conscious of, so you could swap places. So this substance is your mind. This is how you become the full flesh. Your final body, your spiritual body will be your mind. Your mind is connected to your breath. Your breath can't sit in your body at death. Or you're going to be in the body. You, in life, when you come out of death or sleep, you come out. You don't go in. So death is not something you go in. Death is something that's coming out. I hope we kind of get it. Death is coming out. You, as soon as you die, you should be going into another life if you live right. You wouldn't even know death. But if you didn't live life right, meaning you built a unconsciousness, a place for you to go to, instead of a consciousness for you to go to. This is what they call the ministry 37, and make it like the substance of the bodies of the planes above. So when you look at the sun, that's called body. And when you look up, that's a plane above. The sun don't come and walk on the earth. It stays in its realm of plane. If you live successfully, you will go to higher planes. Allah is to take you past the sun to higher planes. The sun is a plane of life that keeps you coming to earth. And it also acts as an evaporation system. It takes souls out the body. So this is why you have to understand the importance of why everything is to teach you in this life. So I hope we had a good lesson today. We'll close it off with last one, number 40. Life spring from death. The cardinal form is changed to the form divine. Twinkling of an eye. That's worth living right, I would say. Now you don't have to go to sleep. As you would say, you experience sleep. You know you don't like that. You miss too much. When you awake, you ain't missing nothing.
You ain't missing nothing. Children want to go to sleep. You know that?
Right.
They want to stay awake.
Yeah, that's why they'll cry when they get sleep, because they know. Hey, I just came from that realm. Hey, I want to be here. Well, we about played out with this realm. We don't know what it is anymore. So we're going to close in our divine name of the divine creator, Al-Sufian. Salam, salam. Wahoo.